I'll do anything for food. Anything.
Whoa! Like braved the biggest snowstorm in southern Louisiana in 20 years to harvest oysters.
If the worst happens.
Drop your boots, drop your jacket, then swim.
Gotcha.
Hi, I'm Adam Gertler. Follow me on my quest as I try out the most unique, most bizarre, and most dangerous jobs in the food world. I will work for food.
You know, one of my absolute favorite foods that I never get enough of are oysters. So I've decided to come down to beautiful, sunny southern Louisiana to spend the day on the Gulf waters working as an oyster man.
But I happen to choose the biggest snowstorm in southern Louisiana in 20 years to learn about oyster harvesting. I certainly picked the wrong day, though I was confident I had picked the right teacher. 8th generation oysterman, Kevin Voisin.
How you doing?
How's it going?
Kevin Voisin.
Kevin?
Hey, how you doing? I'm Steve Voisin.
Steve Voisin.
Yes,
So,
sir.
you guys brothers, or?
That's my Uncle Steve. I'm 8th generation oysterman. Been fishing oysters since before America existed.
I love to eat oysters. Hopefully fishing for them's a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, it's a lot of fun, it's a lot of work, but looks like you're ready. First thing we gotta do is get you geared up. All right.
All right,
You
let's
ready
get
to
some
go?
mollusks.
Let's do it.
The American or eastern oyster that we would be harvesting thrives on a reef 6 to 7 miles off the Louisiana coast in Lake Bourne.
All right, well, the good news is it stopped snowing. The bad news is it's still cold, and it's time to get to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, here we go.
Kevin said on a calm day, he would harvest between 5 and 10,000 pounds of oysters. But today was not a calm day.
Well, let's throw a buoy.
The first step was to mark the reef so the boat would have a guidepost.
Whoa!
There she goes.
There she is.
You have a marker buoy.
Can I give you a hand?
I got it.
With the reef marked, it was time to lower the dredge, a giant rake that skims the reef and collects the oysters.
Now, how long do you dredge it for?
You leave it in for about a full circle, and then you'll pick it back up.
As the oysters came up, we got to work.
You're looking for the good oysters? We want anything from 3 to 6 inches.
The good-sized oysters were cleaned of mussels and kept on board. The mussel debris and small oysters were thrown back.
That's not gonna crack open the oyster?
No, not at all. The oysters are tough. It's not opening at all. It's a thick shell. The mussel's got a real thin shell. So you see the mussel just shatters off.
There's muscle meat exploding everywhere.
But now,
Oh, look at that.
look at that.
That's an oyster.
Let me show you something. Not. Boom. Boom. Done. There you go.
And for the next several hours, we hacked mussels off of oysters. A whole lot of oysters.
Will these oysters keep growing if we push them back?
Absolutely. They'll keep growing and they'll keep reproducing, and that's what we're looking for.
Okay, so it's not a big deal if we're throwing back a lot of live oysters.
No, some of these oysters may have been caught 2 or 3 times, but they help the whole reef to keep growing, so we keep them back.
Sometimes there are just too many mussels to clean.
Is that worth saving, or is that too much of a cluster?
Throw it.
Whoa! That was not part of the plan!
Hey, Adam, got a pretty good pile, a good little start. You want to try operating the boat?
Yeah.
Steering around the pole, just keep the boat around the pole.
Okay.
Next, it was my turn to see how many oysters I could land with the dredge.
That wasn't a lot of oysters. Was that?
You got to turn all the way around. It's going to continue to do that because of the rough seas.
I lost the pole. I'm looking for oysters. I can't even find my buoy. Oh no! I found the buoy.
Bring the dredge up.
I'm flipped upside down.
Let it
Let it
go.
go, let it go.
In case you think working the dredge looks easy, it's definitely not. And if we were going to reach our goal of 5,000 pounds, someone else had better take the helm.
You're kicking me off the wheel, huh?
Yeah, let me.
Probably a good idea.
For me, it was back to manual labor. But after a couple more hours, it was getting late and the weather was picking up again. With an estimated 2,000 pounds, we needed to call it a day. And it was my job to collect our buoy.
All right, so as we pick up the buoy, remember it's got a big chain at the bottom. So at first it's floating, it seems easy.
Yeah.
You get a little easy and then a big pull. And if you're not careful, you pull yourself over the boat rather than pull the buoy into the boat. All right?
If the worst happens,
Drop your boots, drop your jacket, then swim.
gotcha.
For some reason, I wasn't reassured.
All right. Not gonna matter. Strong backhand overhand.
Come on!
Grab it, good, pull it. Up, 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 up. All right. Okay, so.
Captain Pat. So now, buoy's in. We're done, right? We got our haul.
No, sir. We got these oysters we have to sack up.
Sacking it. Well, that's easy.
Yeah, no problem.
Oh, they're heavy.
Each one of these sacks weighs between 100 and 120 pounds.
Well, maybe not that easy. Even in this rugged weather, I was having a blast. I had driven the boat and dredged, then cleaned about a ton of oysters. But the fun was about to end.
This is how this works. Find the opening to that sack and thread it over this measure. All right,
Oh, they're heavy.
fill that to the top. That's an honest measure, we'll call it. Pick it up. Each one of these sacks is about 300 oysters. It weighs between 100 and 120 pounds, depending on the thickness of the shell. But it's about 95% shell.
95% shell.
Yeah, 95%.
5% oyster meat.
Absolutely.
I'm breaking my back for 5%.
Okay, Adam, quit whining. These guys do this every day. Once sacked, the oysters were brought to the cooler.
Now remember, a good day is 50 to 100 sacks. Don't lose it.
It's hard to believe that Kevin and his crew haul in that many oysters a day. I only did 20 sacks today, and as the motorboat took us back to the shore, all I could think about was climbing into bed. I could barely get up the next morning to process our oysters.
You know, one thing I can say about the processing plant that I already like better? It's a lot more stable ground.
Yeah, absolutely. Another difference at the processing plant, we got to get you in a different outfit.
This spring, all the oystermen will be wearing the yellow hat with the hairnet.
As long as that's 95 pounds or above, we're happy, all
And then I
right?
just cut it open?
Right. And that's it.
In addition to our one-ton haul, Motivated processes between 40 and 60,000 pounds of oysters a day.
What we're pulling right now is we're looking for the perfect half-shell Gold Band. So they'll be served on the shelf.
Okay.
That's a 3 to 4 inch oyster with a good shape. That's a good shape.
It looks like an oyster.
Looks like an oyster, that's right. The Gold Band go into the crate. The oysters that pass all the way through will be shucked for meat. We don't care what the shell looks like. The half shell has a lot higher value than the meat. So
Right.
don't miss any.
I nabbed my share of gold bands, but my head was dizzy.
Just for my first day, can we just go to half speed? That's all I'm asking.
We can go to half pay, how about that?
Coming through.
After surviving the sorting, it was time to process the oysters that would be removed from the shell and packaged as meat. Every oyster goes through a high pressurization process to kill bacteria. The first step in this is to put the oyster into this cylinder and fill it with water.
Now you're gonna go up.
And you
All
said
the way
this
down.
head weighs how? Oh my God.
Oh, you can't lift it, you gotta use the
Oh, you
winch.
can't lift that at all.
It's about 200 pounds.
Wow.
You gotta get it in there straight.
You gotta,
You're not gonna be able to manhandle it.
come on, get angry at it. Just straighten this out a little bit. Stop laughing at me. What are you guys laughing at? This is amusing to you.
There we go.
Oh, I'm in!
Okay, now you're gonna push that over and drop it into the cylinder. It's a 13-foot enclosure.
Pressurization process, engage.
Anytime that you're using heat, okay, to process something or to cook something, It's never uniform. You always have hot spots and cold spots. Pressure is the exact opposite. I mean, every little tiny thing at the viral level gets exactly the same processing.
Which means the meat of the oyster is going to be raw, but all the bacteria is going to be completely killed.
Correct.
The oysters are pressurized at 40,000 psi's for 60 seconds. Kevin explained that, like sushi, oysters can be eaten raw, but not alive, because once the oyster is shocked, it dies. These oysters will be packed and used for gumbos, chowders, and po' boys. Next, it was on to the Gold Band Oysters.
Now this is a PVC shrink tape. There's no heat transfer happening to the product. It's just hot enough to melt the plastic.
The Gold Band seals the oysters to prevent water from getting inside and ruining the flavor. Then it undergoes the exact same high pressurization process as the others.
Engage.
Looks like we found your position.
Yes, I can stay here.
Once the Gold Band oysters were pressurized, they were sent to the packing room. Motivated ships its oysters all over the U.S., but I followed one order to a local restaurant, Cristiano's, where Chef Lindsay char grills his oysters on the half shell in a secret recipe.
So this is your roasted red pepper garlic butter.
Garlic butter.
Now, how long do these take to cook?
About 3 minutes.
Beautiful, beautiful. Oh, yeah. That's amazing.
I wore myself ragged, dredging, cleaning,
There you go.
sacking, and processing a relatively small amount of oysters. So
The next time you're sitting back with your friends, slurping back a dozen, you might want to think about Kevin Voisin and the folks at Motivated Seafood and everything that they go through to get those oysters to your plate.